What's up, y'all? Alright, I want to give a little Acura Integra update. I've been meaning to do this for a while, but I've been putting off so much stuff to do on my car that it got to be an absolute mile-long list. And as I put more and more things off in the minor repairs and maintenance, it got to a point where some things where I could not put it off any longer. So I thought I'd make a video, talk about what I've done, what's going on with the car. And I guess I'll start off by saying it's a 19, it's about to start raining, of course. So, 1998 Acura Integra LS. The only thing I've really done to it, as you all can see, is the cold air intake. And a long time ago, put a cam seal in. Everything else is stock. It's 4-door. And if anyone watches my other videos, I have a 2-door over here, so I can interchange parts. I've got a GSR seat. Now, I'll say this, driving this Integra, compare the regular LS seat or the leather seat to the GSR seat, which sits considerably lower. Driving the car, well, I'm talking with the standard shocks, standard everything, just by changing the seat changes the entire perspective of the car. And it's way better. It's hard to get used to anything else. So I highly recommend anyone, regardless of the car, if you've got a tag, put some GSR seats in it, or even I think some Del Sol seats are so said to have sit even lower. But I totally love the seat in this 4-door. Another thing about the 4-door compared to the 2-door, I don't know if you all will be able to see, but when you sit in the car and like look back, the view or the visibility is so much better in the 4-door. Really, the drivability, I love my 4-door. I really love it. And with that being said, alright, got cut off. Alright, with that being said, guys, I really love my 4-door Integra. I've had the car for 16 years. And I've got 286,661 miles, original motor. It's a 5-speed LS V18. As you all can see, I'm a delivery person, so I took the seat out, and believe it or not, in everyday life, since I have 2 cars, not having this seat, I'm able to put so much stuff in this car. So it's got the original seats in it. I really took the time to clean this car up when I got my other car, and I've tried to keep it clean the best I can, so it's still in pretty good shape. I replaced this climate unit because I had broken the ability to change this to maneuver these, so I replaced that, put a new stereo in it, which is the Alpine stereo, which has been good. Replaced the speakers, but really aside from that, I put the bright ass LEDs in it. I've got a purple light at night, shows like a purple blue, and basically the inside of the car hasn't changed much. If I can get it to focus here. So there's nothing really too exciting, but having a car for 16 years, and I'm not a mechanic, I don't know all that much about cars, so when people think of a tune-up, they think of oil change, brakes, fuel filter, air filter, and so I would always change those things. But then I started to hear some clunking, so of course you replace the axles. But over time, here recently, I started to notice that I was having some pretty significant tire wear, and I was hearing some pretty good clunking going on over certain bumps. So I took it to the shop, we put it up on a rack, and I realized that my control arm was bad on this side of my car, and it was wearing out my tires. I usually would buy used tires, and it would wear, so I was having wear on the very, very insides of the tires, and it was wearing them out in, about a few months' time, easy. And as it got worse and worse, it's started to really eat through the tires. So that is when, basically, to my point now, is I decided that I couldn't be buying a new tire every 3 weeks, and the bumps and the clunks and stuff were getting so bad that initially I was told it was my right lower control arm in the front. So I replaced it, and you guys can see pretty worn out because I needed to get tires in an alignment. So I replaced this first control arm and got in the car and realized that once I replaced this, it opened up to the fact that my torque mounts were completely shot, because as I accelerated the car, it was lurching to the right and to the left. So replacing the control arm opened up that I needed to replace these. So then I had to replace these and put them in. So that helped my torque pull when the acceleration, but I figured at that point, looking around, I realized that my upper control arms were completely shot. So I replaced both. So then I said I really had to start spending money. I replaced both upper control arms, both lower control arms, the torque mounts. Then in the back, I realized how shot they were, so I've replaced both rear control arms. I didn't replace the uppers. I ran out of money. And I also replaced the rear trailing arm, which I actually hammered that out. It wasn't that bad, but this bushing was completely shot, and took those out. So I've replaced the rear trailing arm bushings, the front torque mounts, the upper control arms, lower control arms, and the rear lower control arms. Just got 4 tires, just cheap Westlake tires. I got them for $150, all 4 of them, on a 4th of July eBay special. But yeah, a lot of people, they'll tell me, it's raining, I'm gonna get inside here. A lot of people tell me, man, that car's so old, blah, 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 it's not worth fixing. Why don't you get a new car, get a modern car that's faster, more technology, and all these different things. And, you know, I've had this car for so long, but really, for now, it's still a great car. I think the body doesn't really have much rust. And as I've just pretty much rebuilt the suspension, for the most part, I'm gonna do some other. I'm only at the beginning. I consider this phase 1 of about 5-step phase, and so right now, you know, I had to dump this much money, and so I kind of have to save now for my next phase. But I like my 4-door tag. I want to keep it, and you know, so as I alluded to earlier, you don't realize, you know, your major tune-up stuff. Once in a while, you know, you really want to check the bushings and the control arm, because all that stuff, a lot of it is just rubber, and it wears out over time, and all of our integras are getting old, you know. So thankfully, hopefully, with the tires, the alignment, the control arms, the torque mounts, and all that stuff, my tires will at least last me more than 3 weeks, because going through a tire in 3 weeks, you know, was to the point where I was like, all right, I can't let this go anymore. And the control arm was completely shot on the right side, so it forced me to finally fix the car, which I'm glad I did. Now that it's done, I'm glad. But so with that being said, the next things I'm going to be doing for the car, let's see, I'm going to give you guys the list. If you watch my other videos, I have what I believe is my head gasket that's out. I blow blue smoke through what I believe is my valve stem seals if I'm sitting at a red light. A little bit of white smoke at startup. My big thing too is the coolant is going from the radiator into the reservoir but not coming back, which leads me to think it's the head gasket. So what I'm going to do in part of one of my phases is I'm just going to get a head gasket some new bolts, and do the head gasket, timing belt, water pump, machine the head, and I'm going to try to get away with that. So I'm going to put the top end on the car. I may replace the AC compressor, the rack and pinion. I've lost a boot, so rack and pinion, AC compressor, timing belt, water pump when I do the top end of the engine, and basically when I changed out the rear trailing arms, as most of you may know, the rear struts were seized up. I had to cut them off. So what I'm going to do in my red car over here, my two-door Tag, I have some KGB or AGX shocks, and I'm going to get some lowering springs to put on that car, and I'm going to take the struts off of that car and put them onto this car. So that's going to be my next step. Buy the lowering springs since I already have the new struts, put them on that car, take those struts which are in excellent shape. I only have 88,000 miles on my other car, put them on this one. So this one's going to have new struts, well, better struts, and then, like I say, the top end on the engine. So everything else is working pretty good. So anyway, that's my Tag update. I have one more thing to show. Someone actually did hit me. It's raining out, but I'll show you guys. Always rains when I try to do something. I don't know if I'll be able to zoom in on it, but I was at the grocery store and somebody nailed my car right there. So not having any dings at all for all those years, and it's not terrible. There's a little bit of rust starting to form where the paint chipped, but overall the body's still pretty good. I'm gonna fix that little dent part, but I may repaint the car with a cheapo paint job just to keep it in the same color. But I love my Tag, and anyway, y'all, that's just an update. I know I'm rambling on and trying to rush through, but I started just to be able to want to replace one part to get my alignment and realize how bad everything really can be. So this is part of phase one, but I'm back on the road, and feels good. Love my Tag. All right, peace.